In the middle of the 11th century, when the sun sets on the golden domes of Constantinople, the Byzantine Empire still holds the sea and the mountains like a tired giant yet standing. The Theodosian walls raise their three lines of stone against the winds of the Bosporus. The imperial eagles glitter on the standards, and yet, beneath the mosaics and the purple, the secret forces of fate are already at work. Since the great Macedonian dynasty, the Queen of Cities has commanded the lands of Thrace, Macedonia, Anatolia, fragmented Syria, rich islands, and high plains. But after 1056, the solid chain of emperors breaks. Reigns follow one another like torches extinguished too quickly. Authority wavers. The great men of the palace whisper. The generals eye one another like rival dogs. The empire remains vast, but its center falters. In May 1067, a heavy breath passes through the Bucolion. Constantine X Ducas dies. The imperial bed is cold. In the half-light, Empress Eudokia Macrombolitissa takes up the regency. In one hand, she holds the seals of the empire. In the other, her still young sons, Michael, Andronikos, Constantine. Three boys under the guard of a mother, facing a world of wolves. In the corridors of the palace, the Ducas family organizes itself, sure of its right, sure of its blood. Caesar John Ducas, austere and calculating. Michael Psellos, master of letters, weaver of words and intrigues. All scrutinize Eudokia. All calculate the day when she will falter. While the court debates, the eastern frontier breathes poorly. Beyond the mountains of Anatolia, the plains quiver under Turkish hooves. Since the 1040s and 1050s, horsemen from the steppes have pierced the skin of the empire like a rain of needles. The themes, those old military districts that once provided sturdy peasant soldiers, are slowly emptying. Frontier garrisons are diminishing. Gold coins are counted, expenses trimmed. Fortresses once full of shields now guard only walls and memories. And yet, eastern Anatolia is the empire's shield. There, the rocks of Cappadocia raise their stone chimneys riddled with caves and chapels. There, Byzantine Armenia keeps watch, a land of mountains and castles clinging to ridges. There, Upper Mesopotamia stretches out its valleys, corridors between worlds, roads for armies coming from Persia, Syria, the lands of the Euphrates. These regions are buffers, dikes. If they give way, the enemy flood will find no further check before the heart of Anatolia, before the roads leading to Nicaea, before the hills overlooking the Sea of Marmara. There, in the east, another power is growing. From Oghuz encampments, from Turkish confederations, a dynasty rises, the Seljuks. In Iran and Iraq, their tents turn into palaces. They advance, driven by faith and by hunger for land. In 1055, Baghdad falls into their hands. The Abbasid Caliph, sacred shadow of a vanished power, becomes the jewel in the crown of the Turkish warriors. The Seljuk emirs carry their legitimacy like a blessed sword. Henceforth, their domination is not only military, but holy. In 1063, on the eastern plains, one name stands out: Alp Arslan, the valiant lion. He receives the title of Sultan of the Seljuks. He is no longer a mere warlord, but the bearer of an imperial destiny. He consolidates his authority in Iran, Transoxiana, Upper Mesopotamia. His horsemen ride amid dry winds, bows drawn, their horses nervous like flames. He looks westward, toward the rich lands of Anatolia, but his first campaigns turn south. For at the end of the 1060s, Alp Arslan turns against the Fatimids. In Syria, in Upper Mesopotamia, around Aleppo and Mosul, his banners ripple. Cities change masters, alliances shift. The Sultan fights, negotiates, strikes, retreats, returns. Part of his forces is thus drawn away from the Anatolian plateau. It is there, in this diversion, that Byzantium's fatal illusion is prepared. In Anatolia, before 1071, war does not yet roar in set-piece battles, but in swift bites. Turkish raids follow one another. Scouts and bands of horsemen break through the borders, burn a village, carry off livestock, vanish in the dust. Byzantine chroniclers such as Michael Attaliates recount these raids that push ever farther. Cappadocia struck, Cilicia troubled. At times, it is said, swarms of riders approach the environs of Nicaea, already so close to the sea's shores. The stones of Ankara, ancient Ankara, future Ankara, become a stake. This fortress, key to a vast crossroads, ends up being lost. Other advanced outposts fall in the confusion of those years. Dates blur in memory, but the Byzantine defensive line recedes. Where the maps once drew a clear, secure border, there now appears a zone of uncertainty, gnawed away by the Turks. The old Eastern themes, Armeniacs, Anatolics, Charsianon, once full of peasant soldiers proud of their land, are exhausted. Fewer men, fewer horses, less money.
Exemptions, privileges, and negligence are eroding the military base of the empire. Mercenaries are paid instead of training peasants. The discipline of the ancestors is forgotten. The registers are emptying, the camps echo hollow. On the frontier steppes, Oghuz tribes are beginning to settle, not just passing armies, but families, herds, tents. Byzantine and Arab sources attest to it. These nomads slip into the plains, follow the rivers, take possession of the pastures. Their presence makes trade routes dangerous. Peasants no longer know whether the blue horizon will see a merchant or a raider appear. Insecurity becomes a climate, a dark cloak over the countryside. Then, from the heart of the military aristocracy, emerges a man determined to raise the sword again. Romanos Diogenes, a general, a born soldier, seasoned in maneuvers, closer to the camps than to literary salons. In January 1068, the regent Eudokia Makrembolitissa, aware that only a strong sword can save the empire, agrees to marry him. Through this marriage, Romanos becomes emperor, Romanos IV Diogenes. But in Constantinople, this choice resounds like a thunderclap. The Ducas house grinds its teeth. John Ducas sees his influence threatened. Michael Psellos, master of courtly subtleties, disapproves of this soldier who is too frank, too rough. Behind the scenes, words are noted down, future narratives are prepared that will accuse the emperor when the wind turns. Romanos IV quickly understands that he is not only besieged at the borders, but in the very heart of the palace. His objective is clear. He wants to restore military power, to give new vigor to the field armies, to regain the initiative in Anatolia, to drive out the fear rising from the east. For this, he collides with the habits, interests, and calculations of those who would prefer a modest but stable empire to an empire at war. But Romanos knows that immobility in these times is a slow death. He calls in mercenaries, Normans with axe-hewn faces, Franks with heavy shields, steppe horsemen, Pechenegs, Uzes, swift and cunning. He tries to reorganize the thematic troops, to rouse dormant forces. Military spending swells, the treasury creaks, the scribes tally, but the emperor insists. Better an emptied chest than a dismembered empire. Then the marches of Romanos IV begin. In 1068, he leaves the safety of the palaces. His army slips toward northern Syria and Cilicia. The dust of the roads clings to standards adorned with icons. Operations are conducted against the Turks and against local emirs. Some fortresses change hands. Byzantine banners once again fly over ramparts that had been lost for a time. However, no decisive victory comes to break the momentum of the Seljuks. The raids continue, the enemy slips away, strikes elsewhere. In 1069, a new expedition. This time, farther into eastern Anatolia. Logistics becomes an ordeal. The roads are long. The supply trains are slow. The Turks, for their part, appear like shadows, harass, burn, vanish. The results, again, remain limited. Villages retaken, plundering avoided, but neither peace nor a stable frontier. Romanos learns, however. He observes the lightness of the enemy cavalry, the traps of the terrain, the difficulty of protecting extended supply lines. In 1070, the campaign unfolds toward Armenia and Upper Mesopotamia. The ground is harsh, broken by mountains. Local alliances are fragile. Joseph Tarchoniotes, an experienced general, serves there, but coordination between him and the emperor is not perfect. Orders are lost in distance, delays destroy plans. There is talk of blunders, rivalries, uncertain communications. Romanos's will clashes with the realities of an empire too vast and too divided. At the end of these campaigns, the Byzantine army is worn out. The horses are tired, the men as well. The finances suffer. No victory has established a new, secure frontier. Yet Romanos IV does not emerge from these years empty-handed. He has acquired an intimate knowledge of the East, of its roads, of its enemies. He knows that the decisive confrontation will eventually come. He also knows that each season lost strengthens the Seljuks. When the year 1071 comes, the very air seems to wait. Romanos IV fixes his gaze on a name, Manzikert, a fortress city, originally Armenian, integrated into the empire. It stands to the north of Lake Van, on a vital axis between Anatolia and Iranian Azerbaijan. Yet another key in the great lock of the East. To take it back, to reinforce it, is to attempt to push back the Turkish tide, to mark on the ground the imperial will. Not far from there, on the northwest shore of Lake Van, another stronghold attracts covetous eyes, Kliat, Alat. It too controls passageways, routes of nomadic tribes, corridors through which Seljuk armies can pour into the interior of Anatolia. The whole region is a crossroads. Whoever holds it does not only dominate stones and waters, but the movements of peoples.
But in the spring of 1071, the local Byzantine garrisons are thin. Men in small numbers, cut off from the center, withdrawn behind their walls, watching the plains with anxiety. Their logistical isolation is glaring. They know that in the event of an assault by a great army, they will not hold out for long. The walls are solid, the hearts as well, but without reinforcements, without secure supplies, each day can be the last. In Constantinople, while the emperor prepares this new campaign, tensions rise. Between Romanos IV and the Ducas family, mistrust has become an invisible wall. It is feared that in the emperor's absence, a coup might overturn the balance. Oaths are whispered, heavy glances are exchanged. In the texts of Michael Attaliates and of the continuation of John Scalitzes, these muted rivalries shine through. Romanos, seeking to take existing power groups into account, entrusts an important reserve force to Andronikos Ducas, a member of the rival family. A political gesture as much as a military one, but also a dangerous gamble, for it places a potential adversary at the very heart of his deployment. This choice, later, will weigh like destiny. At the same time, a silent debate runs through the empire's councils. Should forces be concentrated toward the east, when threats also rumble in the Balkans? The Pechenegs menace the northern plains. The Normans in southern Italy are biting off the empire's last western possessions. Where to strike first? What to save above all? For Romanos, the answer is clear. Without Anatolia, agricultural heartland, recruitment basin, the empire is nothing more than an empty shell. He therefore chooses the east, despite everything. The decision falls like a sword. In 1071, the emperor himself will depart at the head of the army toward Manzikert. Constantinople remains behind him weakened, divided, vulnerable to the maneuvers of the Dukai. The capital still glitters in the sun, but within it, power is fragmented. This fracture, invisible to the eyes of the soldiers who ready their mounts, will be the shadow that accompanies Romanos IV all the way to the plains of Manzikert, to the clash of August 26th, to the rending that will change forever the face of Anatolia and the course of Byzantine history.